everybody. I hope you're all doing well. So I'm sure we all have one of those aunties in our lives, or have experienced one of those aunties, encountered one of those quote unquote aunties in our lives, okay, who seem to know everything, who feel like they are supposed to be telling you what to do with your lives, who are very judgmental. Every time they see you, they're asking you, when are you getting married? And if you are married, they'll be like, when are you having children? And if you've had children and you are not happy with the relationship, they'll be like, I've been married for over 35 years. Stay in your marriage. That's what marriages are all about, all right? While they are busy judging other people's children, they have their own children doing the most because of this whole idea of it takes a village to raise a child. But sometimes some of them be doing too much, right? And today I'm going to be sharing some of those stories or experiences with African aunties. So let's get into it.
Good afternoon, Auntie.
Oh, Nne, how are you?
I'm fine, thank you, Auntie.
Oh, you're growing very well.
I'm going to go back.
Okay.
Bye,
Nne, please, come back.
Auntie.
This one, you're over 21 years and no marriage, no children. And you're even dressing like these harlots, Why? Don't bring shame to this family,
Yes, Auntie.
Do you hear me? Okay.
But Auntie,
my darling.
I don't know if you know, but last week when I went out with my friends, I saw your husband talking to some young lady.
No.
And your son.
Jesus.
I'm sure he's still in prison, right? Yeah, jail, prison, yeah, same thing, isn't it? Yeah.
Hey.
And your weight, you're carrying your baby pregnancy weight for how many years now? What? 20 years now? I'm just saying, before you talk about other people, have a look at yourself first, yeah?
If you ever confronted them like this, right? If you ever clapped back like this, the whole neighborhood, everybody will hear about how you don't have home training. How disrespectful you are, how you don't respect your elders, and so on and so forth. The smear campaign will begin. We need to stop. If you can't take it, don't give it. I'm sorry. Because most of these young ladies, if you come for them, they'll come for you. That's it. It's as simple as that. So mind your business.
African aunties are the only people I know who can listen to a church sermon about gossiping and then go and gossip after the service. Madam, did you close your ears when the pastor was talking? Or did the Holy Ghost Spirit instruct you to not listen to that part?
It's one African auntie that should not be talking at all. Just told me that I am too old to not be married. That my time to be picking and choosing has come to pass. That I need to get married. I should find a man. Says who, ma'am? You? What has come to pass is that your husband went for a visit in Africa for the past 4 years and has not come back. The way has come to pass. Maybe you should move on. What has come to pass is you going to that man's house every night at 12 a.m. and he still went to Africa and got married to somebody else. That has come to pass as well. And then y'all keep forgetting that, like, I am Muslim, we are innocent community here in Mandingo, and we know that the only thing in the Quran that most Mandingo men, not all, take seriously is the one that said that you are able to marry more than 2 wives. So if I am too old and my time to be choosing a pick has come to pass, ma'am, I still have a chance to get married because your husband is available. We can be co-wife. Nchamuso, what's good?
It is kind of crazy to me how these African moms know that their sons are motherfucking useless and they want to marry a wife to their son knowing their son can serve absolutely no purpose in this young woman's life, but all in the sake so that it looks like your son is doing well for himself, knowing damn well your son is very much abusive, useless, not smart, broke, heavy on the broke, but just to bring a young beautiful lady in his life to ruin that experience for her. That is not fair. Y'all African mothers really need some help. Tanti, it's no point of that. Just make him work on himself, get on your bully, and stop babying him.
When you see them going to the weddings, when you see them going to the naming ceremonies, all the parties, looking at the girls there, becoming friends with their moms and so on and so forth. All of a sudden, this auntie is in your house, she's checking you out. She's talking about her son, right? The problem is that they know that son is a burden and they want someone to take their burden away. And if your mother doesn't shine her eye and becomes friends with them, they will start arranging your marriage between yourself and their son. The one that won't cook, won't clean, won't do anything. They have spoiled him. He's just in the house wasting space. They want him to come and waste your own space. Rubbish.
When my husband and I were at our dowry party, he noticed the kitchen was dirty, so he picked up the broom to sweep. Within 3 minutes of him doing that, 4 aunties, my sister, and everyone around was running over to snatch the broom out of his hand, freaking out, asking him, why is he in the kitchen? Within 30 minutes of that happening, I'm being set in a room with about 7 women who are apparently my aunties that were at my dowry party. And so began the lecture of how a wife behaves. Number 1, I am to open my legs whenever my husband asks. That's part of my wifely duties. I am not allowed to say no, non-negotiable. Number 2, and most importantly to them, a man never cleans. My husband is not supposed to pick up the broom. My husband is not supposed to change a diaper. My husband is not supposed to cook. That's what I'm here for. Number 3, your husband is not your best friend. Your husband is not your friend at all. They noticed that my husband and I kept going in the corner, laughing together and giggling together. And they were like, absolutely not, unacceptable. You do not bother him with your womanly gossip. Number 4, they noticed that I wasn't giving my husband food, that he had to go into the kitchen to make his own plate. Unacceptable. He has a wife now. He can sit and wait for you to bring him his food. And every time you don't do that, you disrespect him. Number 5, they have noticed that I speak to my husband with my regular voice, like I speak to anybody else. Unacceptable. When it comes to speaking to your husband, you have to use a softer tone. You have to bend down a little lower. Needless to say, I did not listen to them because it's Sunday morning. I'm enjoying a cup of coffee that my husband brought to me while he's downstairs making breakfast for all 4 of our kids, and we've been happily married for 6 years.
And this is a major problem in a lot of marriages. If you end up marrying an African man, be prepared to face this problem, okay? Your children, the household, everything, they expect you to do it. Like, it's a taboo. And that is why when we come into Europe, the Americas, and wherever, there's a lot of problems in marriages and relationships, because over here, it's not the same as back home. But because you've raised entitled sons, they are comparing you to us. They are comparing their sisters to us. And the problems continues. But the moment you end up leaving them, they'll be the same ones blaming you. Teach your sons that the same way it takes a village to raise a child, it takes 2 to tango. Marriages are not made by women. If you people suffered in your generation, leave it there. This is 2025 and beyond. We don't do that shit anymore. A man can cook, a man can clean, a man can change diapers, bathe babies, take them to school. It doesn't make them less of a man. Teach your sons that before asking people when are they going to get married. So what? Rubbish.
African aunties and being obsessed with men / being male identified go together like 5 and 6, like chicken and chips, like 1 and 2, like bread and butter. They go together real bad. Wherever you will find being male identified, you will find African aunties there. So when I was 19 years old, I went vegan, strictly vegan. Everybody in my house knew I was vegan. Everybody on my Instagram knew I was vegan. I was a very strict vegan, and my mom was gisting her church friends, African aunties, about the fact that I wasn't eating anything she was cooking at home, and it was annoying her, but she was saying it mainly in jest. Now, because I have an issue where sometimes I overshare with my mom knew I had a long-term boyfriend at the time. So she had told some of the aunties in church like weeks prior that, if Emmy has a boyfriend. So after this particular Sunday that my mom was talking about my veganism, a couple of these African aunties at the end of the service come up to me and they ask me if I ran the decision to be vegan by my boyfriend. So I asked them why I would run health, because it was actually for health reasons that I went vegan. I asked them why I would run this decision by my boyfriend. Like, I was just like, are you asking me if I told him, or are you asking me if I asked him for permission? And they clarified, we want to know, like, if you asked your boyfriend for permission and if he said okay. So I communicated to them that I actually didn't believe this was a normal thing to do. I said that my diet, affects me, and therefore I don't believe this is something I should have ran by my boyfriend. So they are clutching their pearls. I wish I could relay the extent to which these aunties were so disgusted at the fact that I didn't seek permission from a man on top of becoming vegan, on top of something as minuscule as becoming vegan. This conversation between me and these African aunties concluded with a warning where they were basically telling me that if I continue living my life believing that I don't need to like seek permission before making changes, then I could potentially end up alone. I was thinking the entire time, do you promise? Honestly, but looking back, like literally 6 years into the past, I just think it's crazy how, again, women are constantly expected to just structure everything surrounding a man, down to your dairy intake, down to your consumption of meat. And it is crazy. It's crazy.
Yeah, as I was saying, it's 2025 and beyond. Those traditions, that culture, however you were raised, how your generation was like, how you were submissive to your husbands, how you did this and that and the third, it stays with your generation. To be honest, it's done. You people have suffered and we have seen it. Most of us have lived through some of it. We give you your badges. You know, president, generals of all the nations, we salute you. Collect your badges. Okay? But don't come and try to transfer that suffering onto us. Okay? Yours didn't go so well. You were miserable. They did all sort of things to you. You didn't know any better. That's fine. I understand it. Okay? But as the years goes by and time moves and people are growing, you also have to start learning that that part of you was not great. That marriage, that relationship, it wasn't great. You weren't happy in there. You know, so you went through a lot. You suffered a lot in that marriage, in that relationship. You were not happy there. Okay? So don't try to force that onto somebody else. Because you suffered, it doesn't mean the whole world should suffer. Because your husband was rubbish to you, doesn't mean that your sons should be rubbish to their wives. No, it shouldn't be like that. Yes, because if you don't train your sons properly, nobody's marrying them. And those who are already married, tell them to treat their wives well. Because if they don't treat them well, they're going to leave them. They don't mind being single. They will leave them. Alright? Stop coddling their feelings. Stop telling them they are the men, they are the men, they are the men. You are also playing a part and playing a role in this whole conversation and narrative. So if you want the positive outcome, tell them the truth. Alright? Most of these young ladies, they don't care about marriages and relationships anymore. They are happy being single because it takes too much time, work, effort, and so on and so on. And they have to deal with you. You know, they have to deal with you. So if they think about all of those things, they factor in all of that, most of them, they would rather be single. All right? So it is not a badge of honor like it was in your generation. Marriage is no longer a badge of honor. A lot of women are doing things for themselves and happy living single lives. All right? So when you see women, young women of these days doing their own thing, feel proud of that. You need to start changing your mindset and start seeing, you know, the changes that are happening. We are no longer in the 1950s, 40s, 60s. We are no longer there. We are moving forward. This is the new generation. And this new generation, oh, I wish some of you will live long enough to see how it's going to be like in the next 10, 15, 20 years. Okay? Because it will be glorious. Anyway, I'm going to leave it here and leave your own thoughts and opinions in the comment section. And I'll see you again with another video. Take care of yourselves. Bye.